Alright, welcome back. So now we're going to be looking at the exact same two independent events and the probability involved with combined or compound events. So a little bit more tricky, still the same idea, just requires a little bit more thinking. So a coin is tossed and a die is rolled, and we're finding the probability of getting tails and a number less than 3. And the first thing you want to do is want to fill out our sample space. So we know all of these, we know what the outcomes are of these two independent events, and we can fill out our sample space very quickly. That's the tails of the 2. Now, again, if you already know this, you don't necessarily have to do this every time, but it's always helpful. Right, so we need to find the probability of tails and less than 3, okay? So when we have a probability that involves the word and, it means it has to contain both of these traits. It has to be a tails, it has to be a number less than 3, and it's not less than or equal to, it's less than 3. So we know in probability that our total number of outcomes here is going to be 12. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then times 2. So 12 possible outcomes, right? Now, how many of these are tails? Well, only 6 of them are tails. And how many of these have tails and number less than 3? Well, it's only going to be the first 2. So there are only 2 possible outcomes here. And we can simplify this down to 1 out of 6. Right, find the probability of getting heads or rolling a 5. This is different to and. So probability of heads or 5. Right, unlike the word and, or means it can be either. So automatically, all of these values along here are already favorable outcomes because they contain a head. But the one we want to add to it is the tails and a 5, because ultimately it's every outcome involving either heads or involving the number 5. So favorable outcomes are going to be 7 out of a possible 12. Right, probability of not rolling moles of 3. Now, obviously, if you were doing this in a test, please write out the whole chance experiment that we're looking at. Don't just abbreviate like I'm doing, but for practice purposes, it's totally fine. Alright, so find probability of not rolling a multiple of 3. So where are our multiples of 3? Well, we've got our 1, 3 here and our 1, 6 there. That means that all of these have to go. So 4 of our outcomes are bad, right? So that means that what we are going to see is that all the other ones are favorable. So if we're trying to find what are the chances of not rolling one of these, we need to find the chances of rolling everything else. So we have 4 here and a group of 4 here. So we have 8 favorable outcomes out of a total 12, right? Obviously we can simplify this down. So this will be 2/3 chance. If we divide both the top and the bottom by their common factor, your highest common factor in 4, and you can see how we've gone and determined this. So we have a 2/3 chance of not rolling any values or having an outcome that involves a multiple of 3. Okay, so let's look at another one. So we have a spinner and we're spinning it twice, and we're going to first find the probability that both spins are even. But first, let's fill out our sample space. So we have 1, 1, 1, 2, a 1 and a 3, a 1 and a 4, 1 and a 5. 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, and a 1, 2 and a 2, 3 and a 2, 4 and a 2, and then 5. Alright, and in all these, when it comes to numbers, it's a good idea to include a comma, just because every single one of these could be seen as just a 2-digit number if you don't do that. It probably won't be too confusing even if you only didn't include the comma, but I like to do it just to make sure that I'm paying attention. Alright, so first we're going to find the probability that both spins are even. Both even. Right, so first up, what are the total number of outcomes? Well, we have 5 possible in one and 5 possible in the other. So we have 5 columns of 5, which means there are 25 possible outcomes if we add up every single one of these squares. Now, what ones here are both going to be even numbers? Okay, well, we're just going to look at our even numbers and we're going to find ones where they're both even. And that can only happen where we have the 2 and the 4. So here's one where they're both even. Here's another where they're both even. Here's one where they're both even. Here's one where they're both even. Is there anywhere else they could possibly be? I don't think so. So there's only 4 out of 25 outcomes where both numbers are going to be even, because in all the other columns they start out with an odd number, and then in all the other rows they're combining odd numbers. So what's the probability that the first spin is 1 or the second spin is 5? So we know it's total outcomes out of 25. Right, so how many outcomes is the first spin going to be 1? Well, that's all of these outcomes here. Alright, so we automatically know we're going to have 5 plus something. And then with the second spin has to be 5. So if the second spin is 5, it's going to be all of these ones down here. Okay, now the other thing to notice is that you see this overlap here. It means that this value occurs, or this outcome occurs twice. So we can't count it twice. So we have the first 5 up top and then 4 down the bottom, right? So in total, we're going to end up with 9 out of 25 for our probability. Okay, let's look at the last one. The probability of not getting the same number on both spins. So probability of not same. We know it's something out of 25, so 25 possible outcomes. So first up, let's look at where all our numbers are the same. So they're going to be the same everywhere they intersect. So there are 5 values where the numbers are the same. That means there's 20 values where they're not. Alright, if we divide both of the top and the bottom by 5, we'll get 4 out of 5 for our total probability. So you can see drawing this is very helpful for determining compound or combined events and their probability. It's also just helpful to be able to draw on something and have a look at where you're possibly finding values that intersect in both sets, or ultimately where you find your favorable outcomes. Right, that's it for this video. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you in the next one.